Hi, and thank you all for joining us today. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And of course, I want to make sure that you folks can hear and see us all right. And if you can pop into the chat, we would absolutely love to hear from you. I'm just making sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. But thank you so much. And again, welcome to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. And today we're broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, as you just heard, and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please join us in the various chat rooms that we have. You'll be able to connect with our hosts today. And today we're super excited because we're going to be talking about something really important. We're diving into a topic that sits at the fascinating intersection between prophecy, extraterrestrial life, and the future of our world. My guest today is Michael Horn. I'm very excited to have him back. He's been on my podcast a few times in the past, at least I'd say 3 or 4. And of course, I'll put the links where you can check out his other interviews. He is an authorized American media representative for Billy Meier's. And for decades, Meier has been in contact with extraterrestrials from the Pleiadian civilization. And he's been delivering messages and prophecies that have, according to his believers and many others, he's predicted major global events with astonishing accuracy. And again, we have videos where Michael went through a lot of these prophecies, and they'll kind of blow your mind when you see how accurate they are. So today we're going to be exploring some of these prophecies. There are specific warnings about the future of America and what they say about our ability to change our destiny. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, this conversation promises to be thought-provoking, and you'll be able to experience some of the most compelling and controversial UFO cases in history. And that is, of course, about Billy. So let me introduce Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, pardon me, Carol Ann. Thank you for having me on for our manyth time.
Heidi, thank you so much. I have to call out Heidi because she is a staunch supporter of the network, and I adore her as a human. She's just a flower of a person. She's great. She's great. But yeah, Michael, so for folks that don't know, let me get your ticker running up here so that we can make sure folks know where to contact you, and that's at theyflyblog.com. And Michael, for folks that don't know, Heidi also says good day to you, Michael, as well.
Good day, Heidi.
For folks that don't know who you are and who Billy is, can you give us a quick summary? I always like to do that because there are some folks listening, watching, that may not know about him. So I like to just have you do a quick overview.
Sure. I'll give you, since you asked to tell you who I am, you reminded me of something that I was responding to somebody years ago about, who are you and who am I and all this. So I said, when that little voice in your head asks you, who am I? You should respond, who wants to know?
Yeah, right.
So since you want to know, you're not just a little voice in my head, you're a voice.
No. There's many listening today.
Anyway, I have a background with this material in terms of just the Billy Meier case alone of 46 years of research. I had prior and during that time looked into all sorts of claims about UFO cases and evidence in books and what have you, because I was interested in the so-called flying saucers and UFO topic probably since the 40s when I
Mm.
popped into this world. Shortly after I arrived, I was looking at lights in the sky. So I began researching the Meier contacts in 1979 when the first photo book came out. And I participated in making a documentary in 86, 87. At the time, the Plejaren people were referred to as the Pleiadians. Billy Meier, who is now an 88-year-old Swiss man, is the first person to use that term. He coined that term at the behest of these people with whom he started to meet when he was a 5-year-old boy. This is going back to 1942. These contacts that became the official contacts when he was allowed to take photos and films of their craft. All of that part of it started in 1975. But his meetings with these people and the information given to him and the events shown to him began when he was 5 years of age. Well, I'm sure venture into that territory. In 75, when these official contacts took place, meaning the ones that he was told he should be publicizing, bringing the information and the photos and films that he would be allowed to take into public awareness. This was, still early in all of ufology, if you will. Yes, there were things that had happened before, Roswell crashes and what have you. But Billy comes forward in 1975 with transcripts of conversations, very compelling conversations that this isn't channeled material. It isn't things that people were guessing at or making psychic predictions about. These were transcripts, sometimes many pages long, sometimes only a few. And he would publish these conversations shortly after they took place, beginning in 75. What would happen, according to this information, is that he would be beckoned, if you will. He would feel a sensation across his forehead. He would know from the training that began when he was 5 years old in 42 that there would be information. He would be called to do something somewhere. And generally, that would be information beckoning him to come to a location in Switzerland, usually a fair distance from where he lived. He had to go there on a moped all the time because he would be followed by various people. Some were people in, let's say, the locale who had seen him going about on his motorbike. Others were connected to intelligence services. This was a rather unusual kind of call it a mission that he was on. And so no matter what time of day or night, no matter what weather, if he got that call, if you would, he would get ready, grab his camera, get dressed, get on the moped. And I should add that he had lost most of his left arm in a very dreadful accident in 1964. So everything he did from that point on, including all the photography, the filming, the driving in places on mopeds, everything was done with one hand. And he's not the only person in history, of course, that has only had one hand, but it became kind of important when people would accuse him of all sorts of hoaxing and what have you. And the investigators that would go over would say, well, even with two hands, there's nothing here that gives us any indication this is the Nemesis. So he starts to have these contacts officially in 75. They are the continuation of the early childhood contacts. And he begins to encounter even more trouble. As a matter of fact, within the last 3 months, the 26th and 27th attempt on his life took place in Switzerland. There were a couple of people with him that I know. I've interviewed 14 people who've been around when people have basically shot at him. He's been attacked with a knife, long gun, handgun, you name it. And he, in the beginning, he got some assistance from the alleged extraterrestrials, the Plejaren people.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, basically, you're on your own. You've got to use your own skills and intuition to stay sharp, no pun intended. and he's had to do that. He did get shot a lot earlier. I think he was in India or so. It was about 45 years ago, whatever. And he had been shot in his left arm, but that part of his arm, I think, had been amputated too. It's quite a story. It's head and shoulders. It's a story that is in its own league because it is the only UFO, if you will, case that is overflowing with independently analyzed and authenticated evidence of about 5 different categories, plus a voluminous amount, 45,000 pages of information, most still in German, not all.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, large number, we've charted well over 250 specific error-free examples of prophetically accurate, let's see, scientific, environmental, geopolitical, medical, and economic information verifiably published by him before the events occurred or the discoveries were made. And that means astronomical scientific stuff. He is the first person for those people who are concerned about the environment and what's going on. He's the first person on record, starting in 46 as a young boy, 8 years old or whatever, maybe 9 years old, pardon me, to specifically foretell unnatural, man-made, global warming, environmental upheaval, climate destruction, ozone layer destruction, the proliferation, the increase in frequency and intensity of every form of storm, earthquake, volcanic eruption, sea quake, blizzard, you name it. Now, what a lot of people in America don't know, although more are finding out because of certain circumstances, worldwide at this time, these prophecies have been fulfilling for months and months, actually going back a ways. The floods, fires, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, these things have been unrelenting now. Parts of Europe, he had published information as early as 48 that Europe, much of it will turn into swamp because of enormous flooding from storms. That's going on now. It's been going on for a year. So this is not guesswork. It isn't channeled. It isn't speculative. There's no theories. He doesn't ever publish theories because the people that he claims to be in contact with don't give him or show him theoretical information. They only present information when they say this will happen unless, or this will happen with certainty. They only do that when they know and when they have literally seen, foreseen. And in many cases also, they have given him information about the past, history, many countries, many situations, and they've shown him these things in real time. Now, that'll sound pretty crazy. Are we saying that Billy Meier is a time traveler? Exactly. And really, with the information, the evidence we have, we can prove that and we have really legal and scientific standards within about 15 minutes. So it's bulletproof. And this is not like somebody says, I've been to Mars and I lived there for 2 years. No.
Yeah.
We're talking about people that he published information about Mars beginning in about 75, 76, discoveries that weren't made till years and decades later, blew the minds. I went to see a scientist who works on the Mars imaging, the Mars rover photograph. The guy didn't know what to do when he read the stuff. He couldn't explain it because it was verifiably, copyright verified, published before the discoveries were made. So what this is, and I like to, I've been saying this more and more. I mean, we haven't talked for a little while. Billy isn't interested in titillating, scaring, or entertaining people. You don't do that if you've been the target of killers for decades in your life. If somebody the first time a bullet misses, I've said this for years, there's an invisible banner that says, we suggest a career change. And if they dodge that one, they go for a career change.
Did the Clarence ever warn him about any of these threats or help him in any way to avoid these attacks? Like, what did they do for him on a personal level?
Well, in the beginning, as I say, they actually, one of the early attempts, he was sitting with the lead investigator, the late Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens, who was also, while he was in the Air Force, he had been tasked with UFO investigation. And when he left, he became interested in investigating all sorts of UFO cases. And this one, he became very immersed in, and actually he took photographs of their craft.
Mhm.
Talk about that later. But he's sitting one day in Switzerland with Wendell in the late 70s. And suddenly, as Wendell reports, Billy fell forward, kind of fell in his lap. And he simultaneously heard a cracking sound. And when they both got up, there was a bullet embedded in the wall where Billy's head would have been otherwise.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. And this is all documented stuff. I mean, Wendell, they ran into the house after that. So the Playaran people, for a certain period of time, assisted him.
Yeah.
Then they would tell him to be very careful because there would be, and sometimes they wouldn't tell him more than you listen. There are people who are going to be trying to kill you in the next few weeks or whatever. So Billy has some pretty highly developed senses, let's put it that way. One of the last maybe 4 attempts ago, either during the third or attempt before that, he was outside with people I know, and he was standing on a little walkway, and he looked in the direction, and he moved his body, and there was a shot that just missed him. And in the past, years ago, there had been a situation like that where somebody shot at him from a distance, and he happened to have his large caliber revolver with him, and he shot the hat off the man's head. They found the hat bullet through it. It's kind of
Wow.
like Billy is Lawrence of Arabia meets Indiana Jones meets, Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's
Didn't he work for the Foreign Legion too for a while? I remember reading that about him or
what
something.
happened was, and a lot of people, kind of confuse this. When he was much younger, as from the age of 5 on through the early teens and 16, he was meeting with this one man. And there were some other people that knew about this and helped him. As a matter of fact, there was a world famous psychologist. I'm trying to say it, I'm going to try to remember his name because he's so funny. It's so funny because he's like super famous guy. Anyway, he a Swiss guy, and he was one of the people who knew the pastor, the local pastor in Billy's community, and who met young Edward Albert. He was known as Edward Albert Meier at the time. And he actually knew quite a bit about this case. He never would speak about it. The psychologist wouldn't speak about it publicly, but he did help in some ways. There were some teachers who helped Meier publish information he was receiving as a kid, 7, 8, 9 years of age. And it's just a rather astounding thing that was going on. And while this was going on, he was being beaten mercilessly by teachers in school and kids who
Oh,
thought he was a weirdo. And he would say in class, he would correct the teacher about things about history or something, not knowing better initially to not do that because it was not going to be appreciated. But
yeah.
to answer the question, he ended up in the early teen years. One of a woman in the village had taken a towel, I think a wet towel, and started to beat him with it. And he'd had enough. And he grabbed the towel from her and he kind of slapped her around a few times. He got arrested for it.
Oh,
So
geez.
he's like 16. So he runs away to the French Foreign Legion. Didn't want to go through what he had to go through here. And then he was trained there in the French Foreign Legion. It's all about weapons and
Sure.
mercenaries and what have you. And he decided at that point two things. One, he didn't want to be a trained killer. And two, he thought, I think I'll just go back and face the music there, do whatever reform school they put me in stuff, and then continue with my life. And he did. And interestingly enough, he walked out across the desert by himself. Two
Wow.
people from the French Foreign Legion who also wanted to escape, because not everybody was staying there voluntarily, followed him. And he had a canteen. At a certain point, the canteen was basically dry, but he would pretend to drink from it and hold it up and mock them to make them come after him so they could cross the desert. And I think they actually survived because they were so angry trying to get the water from him. But this man has had the most amazing high and low experiences in life, things that people that claim, oh, they're UFO contactees and stuff, and they have no evidence, of course, but nobody would go through what this man has gone through. And still, the CIA-backed Swiss military are sending helicopters to this day over his property, dropping listening devices, harassing the people, trying to catch the conversations he has when the Plejaren visit him. And they can never catch it because it's the way they do these things. So
he's still getting visits from the Plejaren, right?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
And we publish all these transcripts. When the English translations are done, there's a fellow who translates them, gives them to a English language site in the UK, and we get them. And we publish them as soon as we have them. And they are full of information. They have been for years, of things that don't happen until after they're verifiably online. It's kind of like, this is why people don't know about this case. Imagine if people knew in advance, and I won't be too specific so we don't get folks in trouble with it, but imagine if people had known in advance that this man would publish information about a disease that recently was raging, that required masks and things, that he would publish this information starting decades ago, that we would have on our site over 40 specific examples to this day of error-free information about this disease and the before anybody, before the CDC and the WHO, and information that was still unknown as to the people who actually started this problem for humankind that will be with us forever. Imagine if people knew in advance that there was going to be, as Billy Meier published in 1987, an attack in America against something called the WTC, i.e. the World Trade Center, that would be launched by terrorists, which would only be the beginning of events that would turn out to be unimaginable to the people of Earth that will befall our country. So
all this information's out there. Billy published it way in advance, and yet folks don't know where to get the information, or it wasn't maybe it was suppressed.
In all fairness, some of the information from the WTC attack was only available in German until right after the attack took place. So naturally, we had all this up in English as soon as we got the translation, which was right after the attack. So people were saying, oh, he backdated it, except for a funny little thing. When you go through that document, which is called the Meier Prophecies, you see a whole bunch of things that didn't happen until years after it was published. And that means Russian military movements, where they moved, all sorts of stuff. And in that same document, telling who's going to attack which countries, what countries are going to attack us, and how they're going to come in to attack us, and what kind of weaponry, stuff that hasn't happened yet, but we can now see. Imagine being told as early as 1981 that the United States of America will have two coming civil wars. Now,
Yeah.
I first read that information, held it in my hands, in 1986 from the first document, 81. It had been translated in English. Fellow I know where it was in LA, right in the street, everything. So we when I read that, I literally said to my friend, I said, "What's the Swiss guy smoking? Two civil wars in America? How could that possibly be?" I'm not laughing anymore about it. We are on the brink of many things, and so Billy has often said, "The real truth is often harsh, but it must not be told in flowery words." Because
Yeah.
people will pay no attention. They may not like to hear it, and they don't have to do anything with it, but don't sugarcoat it, because otherwise, how could people have the opportunity to even check it out, to know that these things might be occurring? His track record is unparalleled. There's just not.
Yeah, we're gonna do a dive into, a lot of it. And we've got some questions from folks. They want to know specific regions and stuff, and we'll make sure we cover
Yeah.
that. But Billy has published a lot of information regarding UFOs. And
Mhm.
right now in the news, it's a big, huge deal. Everybody's printing it. It's on all the huge legacy media websites that there's this craft coming. I think it's called H1 Atlas or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And they're saying that, well, I'm sure you heard about it, Michael, but they're, just to reiterate, they're saying that I think in November, if I can remember correctly, this craft that's on its way here is going to make contact with Earth. And they don't know if it's hostile, if it's just coming to observe. There are some claims that it's releasing probes to spy on us,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. And it's not just conspiracy theory. As I said, this is like in the media. Okay.
Well, yeah,
So,
it doesn't mean it
so
isn't a conspiracy theory, but go ahead.
right. So, what has Billy said about some of the
Okay.
claims from
Well,
Harvard scientist Avi Loeb about this incoming alien attack?
it's
Avi
funny you
Loeb
mention
is amazing. I mean, we adore him.
it. Okay. Billy has never spoken about Avi Loeb, with good reason. I have,
Yeah.
because 6.5 years ago, and then 4.5 years ago, I reached out to Avi Loeb when he first came out with his first ridiculous, idiotic space thing, as Oumuamua or something like that.
Yeah. Moa Moa.
There you go. So I sent him information. I actually had caught him on a phone. I dialed the number. He happened to pick up for like 20 seconds. He was on his way to a class. I said, "I'm sending you this stuff." So this is typical of a few things. And now that you brought it up, let's just for a moment talk about the Ukraine war,
Okay.
or any war.
Yeah.
You might know that parties are hostile towards each other, but they haven't attacked each other. Do they want to say, "We are going to attack you in 3 or 4 months," or do they go, "We're ready," and they attack you? What I'm trying to tell you is, this is, I'm going to give you my opinion, because Billy doesn't deal with these people. Avi Loeb is among the people who should be ashamed of themselves beyond belief as a
That's
scientist.
sad. Yeah, that's sad to hear.
As a scientist publishing some cockamamie theory of, he says it could be an alien space. Now, so if Avi Loeb was here, I'd say, Professor Loeb, you mentioned it could be an alien craft. Yes. I said, "Where's your evidence for anything alien existing?" I don't mean a theory. Where is the evidence so we'd know possibly aliens? He doesn't have any. But that's not fully true. If he still has what I sent him, he has the best and only evidence of independently analyzed and authenticated of craft of deliberate, for sure, extraterrestrial manufacture, and information that could only have been provided to a man on Earth by people with space and or time travel. So with all due respect to Professor Loeb and to people that parrot this out there, there's a guy from Australia, Ross Coulthart, and he's
Hmm.
interviewing people. These are the people that have the soft, cushy thing of forwarding disinformation. Another one who does the same thing is a man named Lou Elizondo, a
Yeah, Lou.
supposedly former intelligence guy, evil alien threat. And I've got information that Stephen Greer, we have things we can't tell you now. Really? You can't tell us. Why is that? Billy
But
Meier's
Michael,
going to tell us.
Michael, there's one thing I read recently that NASA tracked the trajectory of
Mhm.
this, and they came out with a report saying that it literally changed trajectory, and a comet, an asteroid would not be able to do that. So how do we
Right.
explain that it
What
was
we say is,
intentional?
we say, here's an object that's been picked up coming in this direction. Now, if only NASA was concerned about asteroid Apophis, which is going to cream this planet, and they just keep ignoring the threat, which Billy published, 23 years before
Now,
NASA
what is
discovered it.
this an asteroid or a comet that's
It's
headed towards us?
an asteroid called Apophis. You can find it in
Yeah,
the
I
news.
heard about
I'll get to
that.
that, but let's just
Yeah.
say, with what you're talking about, the responsible thing to do, which since it's a responsible thing to do, it's far outside of the, let's say, priorities of an Avi Loeb or a Ross Coulthart or a Lou Elizondo or any of the profiteers that are out there pushing hysterical stuff about threats from out there. Our
Yeah.
threats, with the exception of Apophis, come from right here. Now, what you do is you say, we have detected an incoming object that appears to have altered its trajectory, which isn't something that doesn't happen because there's gravitational forces, there's all sorts of things. Fine, let's say it did alter its trajectory. That doesn't equal an alien craft. We don't know. So we will have our scientists observe that. The likelihood that an alien craft, first of all, or second or third or fourth of all, any civilization that has to cross from the depths of space, since there's no other civilizations in the Milky Way, let alone in our solar system,
Right.
it has to come from the depths of outer space, which requires hyperspace travel. It's coming from millions of miles away. You don't do that by Elon Musking a rocket.
Mm.
We're going to drive a rocket towards Earth and get there in 3 months. No, because you don't let anything of a hostile intention be detected months in advance. And here's the other thing, the government, which is suddenly all about UFOs, is known for 70 years. The UFO cover up actually goes back 110 years. I have my article
Yeah.
documents, but let's just say 70 years that they've admitted. Who's attacked us from outer space in 70 years? Nobody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've got somebody supposedly coming this way and all that. So they'll get here. Let's see, this is just August, all of August, September, October. 3.5, 4 months from now, evil aliens are going to come here, and you're going to have if that was the case, every available form of advanced weaponry waiting for them. No, they're not stupid if that was the intention. There are already highly advanced humanoid beings on this planet that come from somewhere else originally and have been here for thousands of years. Prior
Mhm.
2015, we published this video explaining about this. This is part of the mass disinformation agenda that really has its roots very much in US government intelligence and other countries. So
Yeah.
they've got people worrying about threats from outside while this country
Yeah, it's
is
blowing up.
deteriorating and it's got
Yeah.
threats.
It's Project Blue Book stuff, they're just trying to scare us with, fake news. I don't believe anything that go I honestly don't.
Here,
I
the
I
problem
don't.
is you've got the people in so-called ufology, Carol Ann. These are the people, and to a person, every one of them. I have sent Meier's material over the past 20 years to just about any and everybody you can think of in ufology, and they don't want to threaten their cash cow if they're writing books or appearing somewhere with useless information. Show me somebody that's got something of importance, real verified evidence. I might be interested, but
Yeah,
who
and I
needs it?
agree with, "Hey, it's the Johnsons," he said agree 100% that mainstream names, handle this subject completely wrong, and then A1, you get it. For folks that are listening, said recent contacts reporter refusing to talk about some future events. I mean,
Some specific things that are coming our
yeah,
way. But you see, Billy teaches something about, he's written over 60 books, and they're not about UFOs and extraterrestrial. Sure, there's a few books where he speaks about his experiences
yeah.
with these people and also human beings like we are. But
So
he
with Avi,
teaches,
with Avi Loeb, though,
yeah,
so he's scientist because he's pretty, he's a pretty reputable scientist, Avi, and I would, normally take what he says with legitimacy.
if he
So he,
stuck to what he knows, that'd be fine. But he's showing
right.
himself to not be reputable or credible because he's trying to profit off this hysteria.
Oh,
And
okay. So he's saying so they're making speculations about this entity that they're seeing that could be a comet, an asteroid, whatever. And
or it
they're
could be
trying to
something
use
else.
fear tactics to make us think that it's some kind of craft headed for the earth and
To take our eye off the ball,
off the
bottom
ball. Yeah.
line,
Yeah.
what our individual lives and responsibilities are, what's going on. I just saw something today of all things. I haven't looked into it yet, but some report about in Canada, the government now is prohibiting people from going in the woods, fishing, hunting, like all of this. It's fun. Health, Abraham just popped the
Yeah.
question. I didn't see that when I started talking about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He had asked that before a few
Okay.
minutes ago.
See, the countries, the leaders of these countries, the vested power people, the elite and all this stuff, this is an agenda that's Billy has foretold for a long time. The eventual and coming and very close at hand biochipping of every man, woman, and child
yeah.
on the face of the earth, controlled, that will start with the US and then the EU. He foretold this in 58 before there was an EU, before we knew what
What about Canada? You were saying something about
Yes.
Canada. What was
I
that?
always, and maybe somebody who's watching will click and look at the info. They've got some crazy thing. It came across a Twitter or a Facebook feed or something this morning, and didn't have time to go into it. And government officials are going to fine people in Canada where they live for going into forests, for hunting, fishing, hiking
Yeah,
on trail. Maybe it was disinformation. I'm hoping, because I'd hate to think that the Canadian people have lost their guts and their balls and the rest of it and are going to put up with that kind of crap at all. They had troubles with the convoy thing. They got rid of one, lunatic premier, whatever Trudeau was, and I think they've got another one in its place. These are agendas that get put over on people because people are very, very gullible and they fall for it. And yes, these people have a different agenda, control. See, I don't get it, and I think a lot of your audience doesn't get it. How much more can you shove in your face? How many more things and power? These are people that are empty. They're full with emptiness inside. They have no sense of life. It is only through the acquisition of stuff that they think that they have existence and that they're important. So these are the people that, I'm sorry, but people who must be more stupid than them put into office. So sorry, this is where, why do we even worry about extraterrestrial anything when we've been warned for decades as to the real agenda of the powers that be, not from a conspiratorial, and some of which is accurate, of course. I'm not saying it isn't, but the real solid stuff where there's no, fudging, and Meier has left out certain things, but not a lot. So
what did Meier predict about? I know I kind of talked to you a little bit about this in the past, but maybe we could dig in. What is Meier? Did the Clarence say anything about AI to him?
Well, Billy first wrote about that in 58, about how people would be fooled, tricked by what things that are that aren't real, they're only manufactured. They'll be so sophisticated, they'll fool the eyes and the senses. But in 1987, in the same Enoch Prophecies, when he speaks about the coming war that we are stupidly allowing this government and all previous ones to push us into, there will be, as Billy wrote in 87, not only laser controlled, biological, chemical, and other advanced weaponry, but computer controlled weapons and cloned fighting machines. AI, highly robotic, partial human things. So AI, for those, we love our techno toys. AI is the most clever means by which humankind can devise and
Mm.
work on and extol and become hopelessly fascinated with something that will exterminate it. Quite literally, the odds of extermination. If the war doesn't finish everybody off,
Yeah.
the AI will.
So
So,
Rebecca has a good question. She says, "How do they plan to get Americans to succumb to these lies? What's their plan?"
which lies?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Rebecca, if you would be more specific, because a lot of things, it's easy to see how they get Americans to succumb to them. And this happens in other countries too, but we're talking here about this. So if she pops a specific or two,
Yeah.
we'll see if I can respond. I don't know. But AI is deadly beyond imagination. And the power mad people that are developing this, these are people who are really messed up. This transhumanism thing that's been going on for a while. Now they're going to try and do it. We haven't become fully human. What's the rush to turn ourselves into, or to succumb to, turn over existence to machines that now will, on steroids, magnify every demented criminal type of behavior input deliberately or accidentally, because they will also be able to delve into and extract this degeneracy of humankind that only wants power at any cost and more possessions at every cost.
Yeah.
How do they get people to believe that? Well, they dazzle you. If you're talking about AI, aren't you dazzled? Isn't it great? Look, there are things. It's great to have a fast search engine, but they
Yeah.
also, nowadays, with the AI stuff, there's a lot of stuff that is verifiably inaccurate. We had people searching about Billy Meier's material. They came up with wild stuff that had nothing to do with Billy Meier at all. Then some of them actually, there were a few that actually got it nice and neutral. Here's the information. But
You know what
you're at the
frustrates
mercy
me?
of this.
I've spoken to you, as I said, several times before. And the thing that frustrates, I don't mind comments. If you're skeptical, leave, questions, of course. But people see Billy's amazing photography of these ships, and right away they go, "That's fake," and then they just write them off. They don't bother to delve into the prophecies. And that's where Billy gets me. I'm like amazed at
Yeah,
and we've spoken in depth about them. The
yeah,
pictures are great. I love them. I think they're
well,
fascinating. The video even more
yeah.
fascinating. Yeah. But the thing that grabs me about Billy is his prophecies are incredibly accurate. Incredibly accurate.
They've been accurate since he was 7
Yeah.
years old,
Yeah.
8 years old. And it's scary how he was able to write. If people go on, and let's say they go to the blog and they go 1946, 1947, they'll start to find things where he wrote things about what's coming that they took and showed him.
Yeah. Yeah. Did
And
Billy say anything about Australia? Mish said, "Let's talk about Australia, LOL, going up Poopy's Creek without a paddle or a life jacket." I know, Mish. It's so tragic what's
there
going on
is
over there.
not a lot of specific information about Australia. I lectured in 4 places in Australia, I don't know, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, something. And it was great because the people are just, very alive. I mean, they've succumbed to a great degree to this control that the
Yeah.
American military secret CIA stuff has. There's a place there, and people will know what I'm talking about. They have a presence there. They are with their fingers in the government, and I know people there who tried to expose the pedophilia in Australia. They were imprisoned for it. One guy narrowly missed taking a bullet to his head. It killed his neighbor. Uh, this is why I worry about Canada. They're trying to pull the same thing
Yeah.
In Canada, they're trying to obviously pull it here. And other places, you've got, New Zealand and Denmark and Scandinavia. It's all part, and it isn't just a monolithic thing, one group. There are, these elite power groups that are vying for their own control. And they
Yeah,
rolled
most
over
of
and
them
accepted
do
it.
roll over and accept it.
Where's the spirit? These are people that had a lot of fighting spirit. At a certain point, it's going to get unpleasant. There's no doubt about it. There are things we know, and I'd like to say this: just because, let's say, I read the prophecies, you read the prophecies, we can be told about things that will happen. We're not always told about other things that will happen because we have to figure it out. Even when you know about a thing that will happen, that's different than experiencing that thing.
Yeah.
People
Now
that
the Polarans mostly give warnings. Tell me if I'm wrong. Aren't they warnings though? And then we do have the ability to change the outcome. Didn't Billy say that on certain things?
Yeah, here it is. Prophecies are forewarnings of events that will occur unless people change the direction, the course,
Right.
actions, and thoughts and actions. Predictions are things that will happen with a certainty, 100%.
Right.
Most of the time, these are natural events. A lot of them originate from, space, an asteroid or this or that. But some of them are because of human behavior. Years and years ago, Billy had predicted specifically this avalanche that did occur just recently in Switzerland. It's going to happen. It's going to take out a village. Well, people didn't move away or anything. It's just like we've sent all this information about the eruptions that are coming to Italy.
Yeah, we talked about that, and they didn't listen, right?
No, and of course people say, well, nothing's happened there yet. That's right. We have these warnings, and why would we pay attention to them? I'll come back to that in a second, but just predictions. Those are when things have gone too far, or they are these natural, and or cosmic events like this. This is the graphic for a new film, which we have a trailer for if you want to show it or anything like that.
Oh yeah. Let's do that. Okay, so tell the folks what we're going to be watching, Michael.
We're watching the trailer to our newest film. We filmed the interview parts of these in Switzerland and then did the editing here in the US and added things. And we show documents, lots of documents with the dates and all. So this is just, as we say, you don't have to show the whole thing if you don't want. It's like 4 minutes long. It's long for a trailer, but we wanted people to know. This is not focused. We've got lots of UFO stuff. We put in special features, including where Billy talks about the Earth foreigners, the people living underground, their technology, their craft being seen everywhere, the future time-traveling Earth people, all this stuff. So we've got plenty of the UFO stuff at the end of the film. But this stuff we wanted to give people who want to know what's coming and what the credibility is. So, from Toronto.
I'm always saying hi to people.
So,
all right, so go ahead.
Show as much or as little of it as you want. Do I need to do anything, or do you have it?
Nope, I got it ready to go.
Okay.
Just start it. You just can start it.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So I've got to get to the tab, I guess, for that.
Yeah.
All right. Hold on 1 second, please.
The common portrayal of extraterrestrials as little green men or little gray people is part of a disinformation campaign.
I was fascinated by the UFO evidence. It's incredible, unparalleled, authentic. There is nothing here to believe. We're looking for facts. This is about something even more important than UFOs. Your Billy Meier case is 100% ironclad, authentic. I will take on any skeptics on your behalf.
Billy Meier was doubted for many years.
I know
what do you
story.
think about him? The pictures are so vivid, and the Pleiadian story is so vivid.
Otherwise, we are told with certainty it comes in
and strikes between the North Sea and the Black Sea. You want to read tomorrow's news? You read Billy's old prophecies and predictions.
In 1953, and this is verifiable, by the way. This is copyrighted, verifiable information of Billy Meier specifically talking about going underneath, being transported in a beam ship, and going underneath the pyramids in a massive underground chamber.
We are told even at that time who set this in motion, the progenitors of this disease. Which I would only later come to be able to find that he had published information about the damage to the ozone and atomic energy, indeed, back in the 1950s.
According to Meier, we might as well roll cigarettes with our paper money for those of us that are still smoking.
The agenda is to control everything. The American people will be dispossessed.
Crazy.
It's happening now. In 1987, Billy Meier is warning about computer-based weapons. What does that mean? AI.
Well, I think it's an astonishing prediction by Billy Meier.
If your country attacks Iran, there's an enormous likelihood that Russia and China, which are becoming closer all the time, will attack your country.
The chills watching this.
You can watch UFOs till the cows come home. They're up there watching. These people are really crazy. How did they know the future unless they have time travel? Folks, it's right here. We're not going to have time travel now. But this is the evidence for it that somebody does.
You get the chills watching that. It's crazy. It's so amazing.
Yes.
I just want to say quickly, Shirley Wood, thank you so much. We love Karen. And I'm going to talk about a new show that she's got coming up later at the end. And also, hello, Ian from Australia. We love our Aussie friends, but love you guys. Thank you so much for joining today. But Michael, that trailer was brilliant and very bone chilling and a very good example of the prophecies that I was talking about before. I mean, so many predictions.
Yeah, you had
No way he could have phonied or faked them. They were released years before, decades before they happened.
It's just like Clayton Morris, that show Redacted. He said, he's seen it. He's seen all these texts and copyright proofs, and he's commented quite a bit on Billy's case. So, I'm appreciative.
I mean, you got Dan Aykroyd and Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Clueless. Oh God. Hopelessly clueless. Imagine if somebody like Joe Rogan actually, instead of being choked out too many times and not having functioning brain cells, when he was in that interview, he held Billy's photo book in his hands, and they thought it was done with Photoshop. I mean, 1970s. So this is what we're up against.
We were still on dial-up back then. It was awful. It was awful in the 70s. Trust me, I remember those days very clearly.
And I have to tell you something. With this film, I decided to sell it on a flash drive. Can I show you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Show everyone.
All right.
Yeah, we're really excited to see the whole documentary. I mean, the trailer alone. For folks that are listening on radio, please head over to our YouTube channel, or you can see it on so many platforms, Rumble, and you'll be able to see, or you can, the trail is available on They Fly blog too, right?
Yeah, I think
Michael,
just take a look at
obviously.
it.
So head on over to Michael's blog and definitely, if for those that are well, you heard it, but it was visually compelling as well because Michael showed all the different screenshots of Billy's prophecies. So that was really cool. But go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. Here we go. This is what I decided to put it out on, which is a flash drive that has both the B and C. So you can actually play it through just about, I guess, any device with laptop, computers, desktops, iPads, phones. And this way, I carry mine on a keychain because there's another drive that we sell. It's called the Companion, and that has a whole bunch of the articles of the teaching information from Meier.
Oh, nice.
Plus a complete film of him in there answering questions, plus a whole thing where there's 77 like affirmation meditations, and they're in English and in German, and I actually have a recording in there with a German pronunciation. So it's kind of like, if you just only had a phone or something and everything's down and you wanted to tune into some really good, it would be the creation energy teaching on the other drive.
Yeah.
And you can just, so anyway.
Now you went to Switzerland, you were telling me, to shoot a lot of this. Was Billy involved? What was Billy's involvement in it?
Not in this. Actually, I worked with another guy who was kind of a real, major support for Billy, assistance with a lot of stuff. Michael Feutlander, he's got a YouTube channel as well. And he and another guy from Austria that I've known for many years, who's also a filmmaker, they did the filming there. And then we took, what we wanted to have and edited it in. So
yeah,
there are things that you're going to see happen that are in that film before they happen. So what can you do? It's like if I was to say anything to people who are involved with ufology, I'd say, listen, if you've seen this, and if you now know about this, why don't you contact every single one of them, from Avi Loeb and Ross Coulthart, and Leslie Keane and Lou Elizondo? Because when Lou Elizondo came out publicly, he had 5 pledges that he made to the public. I will always tell you.
I remember that.
Remember that? I wrote him. I said, okay, tell us the truth. What about Billy Meier? Wouldn't respond. So this is not about entertaining us, folks. It isn't about UFOs. We're past that.
Yeah.
UFOs, mystical things in the sky, irrelevant. There is a relevancy to some of the sightings because they are from what are called the Earth foreigners, the distant descendants of extraterrestrials who had bases in countries, above ground bases in Egypt and South America, Central America. Okay, so these people were rulers long ago. You see them represented, and their descendants went underground at a certain point. Now, those people's craft have been seen in the skies for hundreds of years, and they may make a more public reappearance should we end up in this third world war, which the government is pushing for very foolishly. At a certain point, it is foretold in the Anak prophecies, they will become public and throw in their assistance to the countries opposing us. That might give folks, don't worry about an outside attack. Now, to the fellow or whoever.
I apologize. Hey, it's the Johnsons. I knew her name, and now it eludes me. But she made a great comment. She loves the USB idea, and I'm kind of bummed that they're trying to get rid of the whole physical copy deal. Grab a DVD copy and go. And that's so true. Everything is rentable. And it reminds me very much of that whole premise, you will own nothing and be happy, from good old Klaus Schwab and his WEP agenda there. So the fact that people are going to own this documentary on a disc is a brilliant idea. I had to throw that in there.
Well, thank you. Well, the other thing that inspired me when I was thinking about AI, I wanted to make it as difficult as possible for AI to corrupt it. If you have something like this and you want to make sure that it's not, been messed with, or your copy isn't messed with, because we're getting it from, duplicated. It says nothing's coming in.
Yeah.
It's like this. Well, then go offline when you want to watch this, or if you have the
Exactly.
other things. Just go offline, take it out, put it aside when, this was to avoid the obvious
Shirley
and
loves it too.
inevitable.
Shirley
So
said she loved it too.
Oh,
I
good.
wanted to ask you about you can't help but notice that there is and I'm going to use the verbiage that's out there, that there is a spiritual awakening. People are calling it that. And you can't help but see it. It's pervasive. It's everywhere. People are waking up. They just are. To you, whether it's wrong, right, or indifferent, people are waking up. And I'm curious to know if Billy or the Polarans had any messages about a collective consciousness that the American people and globally too, of course. But did they talk about anything relating to like our potential future and saying that maybe we are now having a raising of consciousness?
Well, I'll give you my understanding of it. First of all, this isn't new in a way. It is said, again, you don't have to, thank you, Arturo. This is the seventh and final
Yep.
mission appearance, if you will, a prophet connected to an extraterrestrial race that has been involved for over 13,500 years with this mission on this planet. These human beings are more highly evolved, but they're not perfect. They're human beings. The core purpose of this case is the other drive, the creation energy teaching. Billy's books, articles, interviews, films. It's the most important thing, because if we do not catch on and start to change our thinking, and he writes incredible books about the depth of that, we will get this future. We're not the first or only evolving, if you can use that word loosely, civilization in the universe that has ever come to a juncture like this, where destruction is the other white meat here, it's the other option.
Yeah.
And so the core of the case is, it isn't the UFOs, it's not the ETs, it's not even the prophecies, it's the teaching. And that's why we have tons of articles linked from our site, free articles from Billy, from other people who have written articles at this within his group, etc. That's the why of it. And to answer more specifically,
sorry, he's a fella. I'm sorry. I get so confused with the names. I'm sorry there. Gene. There you go. Thank you, Gene, for clarification. Sorry about that, Gene. I will remember now. I never forget faces, but names I'm not so great with. But yeah, you're right. So Billy's teachings is about the elevation of consciousness as well as giving us these prophecies and predictions, right?
The core of it, as Billy says, the meaning of life, it isn't predictions or UFOs, it's the evolution of consciousness, so that we can forge an even better destiny and fulfill it in harmony with the way that the universal, the creational laws of existence are set for people to prosper and benefit. There's no punishment built in to this universal consciousness.
I have to ask this question. I don't want to get political and take sides, of course, but I think this is a good question, because a lot of people are wondering. This is from Ian. He wants to know if Trump is going to lead us into. Does Billy make any predictions about this presidential, the president's, is he
Yeah,
going to make us have a World War III? Is he going to
well,
lead us into this apocalypse, or however
well,
you want to word it?
I don't know if I can get this to show on screen because it's a screenshot. It's not on Google. And
Is this a Billy prediction?
from 1947?
Wow.
The United States of America itself is being driven to acts of terror and war by confused elements incapable of governance who have attained supreme state power. And through these pathologically stupid, self-important, and insane, power-obsessed American presidents, new enmities will also arise between the USA. Okay, I'll jump around a little because this has got like 15 minutes. Let's see. And he has something in here about the Islamist terrorist organization that's in there. And then he says, and just as the USA has always been able to act as the world's police force and thus interfere autocratically and continue to do so, so it will be that in the new millennium, towards the end of the second decade, Persia will also be, Persia is another word for Iran, harassed by the USA and its then unpredictable, domineering, stupid, erratic, and confused president. If we jump around, consequently, everything will remain as it has been up until now, namely, the United States of America, under the leadership of its criminal, autocratic presidential leaders, will continue their sense of world domination in the new millennium, or rather in the third millennium, when yet another self-important and megalomaniac president of the United States of America imagines himself to be a powerful leader. And I'll leave with this one or two. At that time, it will be an unpredictable man with a pathological megalomania who will behave more and more like Adolf Hitler and will be under the delusion that he's a great and invincible and unique ruler, a ruler of power before whom the entire population of the earth must kneel and grovel in the dust in the same threatening way as Hitler did. The Hitler-like leader.
When was this written? In 1940 something?
Seven.
Oh my good Lord. And then that could be any president, really, because they're all megalomaniacs. So they,
a little later on in the thing, they specify that they're talking about Trump. It's too bad.
Oh, good Lord.
They are equal opportunity offenders. They
had
stuff about Biden and Harris and all.
No, they are. They don't single
I just saw a thing in the
one
paper.
President.
Something that jumped out at me today. Again, I don't care which part. It's all garbage.
Yeah.
Pam Bondi. There was somebody that was being prosecuted. She was prosecuting. The person being prosecuted got Bondi's brother as an attorney. And guess what? Some months after that, the charges have been dropped. I read another thing months ago. Bondi had sold well over $1 million worth of stock in that Trump Social or whatever right before Trump announced something rather than it was going to, dump and pump.
Yeah.
These people are grifters. The government
you know what it is? It's the whole political system. And it's not only in America, it's a global problem. Politics have become corrupt globally. And, these people, we're under the illusion that they're here to serve us and, that we're paying their salaries and that's the furthest thing from the truth. The whole system is not good. So,
well, it's always been that way, Carol. I mean, here's the thing.
Yeah.
The average person, whatever that is, or whoever that is, votes these people into office. And sure, actually, Meier had said, strangely enough, Trump is the lesser of two evils. People said, why do you say that? He said, because if Harris had won, she would have initiated the Third World War with Russia. She would have been launching a nuclear war. It's just a matter of time before Trump blunders into that. I mean, can anybody think of anything more stupid than tariffs, trying to blackmail people into buying your stuff and all? The guy's a bully. It's not going to go well. And here we are. But politics is the least effective means of human relationship, cooperation, peace, love, freedom, and harmony. It always is advantage oriented. It always pits. And they know the game. So they play that card with And people are always going to, unless and until they wake up to it. Meier said, this mess goes on for another 200 years. And sorry, folks, it also includes all the belief systems and all the religions, every one true God, every one true religion. We're free to believe what we want. But if we want to step off this dead end conveyor belt, the evil twin siblings of politics and religion, sorry, think for ourselves.
Yeah. So what does Billy say about the next? Because I remember you saying that once before. This goes on, this craziness, for the next 200 years. And then what takes place after that?
It'll take 800 years under the best of circumstances as the survivors of this that is being brought into reality now, the survivors of what's coming on every level, 800 years until people have come together, have given away their dependence on outside real or imaginary saviors, saints, gods, deities, politicians, presidents, and all the rest, and have taken that's the number one start. The teaching starts with every human being is 100% self-responsible for everything in their own lives. It doesn't mean we don't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that other things can't affect us, but as some famous Stoics said long, long ago, it isn't events, it's human reaction to events. Yeah. We have to learn to think, to feel in clear ways, and to act in harmony with universal laws that are here to give us abundance.
Yeah. Ian made a good point. He said, if it's not Trump, it seems to be a trend in world leadership today. That's like a balloon inflating until it's so true, Ian.
Yeah, but it can't happen without this. And it can't happen without people putting up with and empowering people. So, yes, people are being played. They want celebrity, powerful people to be their leaders. Why do you think this guy ever got into that? Hey, look, as a president, has he done a few good things? Yeah. I mean, you can't just, unless you go completely Hitler, which could be coming with shutting down the borders and martial law. Why do you think in the prophecies and predictions, 2 civil wars, the American people will be dispossessed? I always thought that would come from a Democrat administration. Right now, I'm not so sure. They're the 2 sides of the same coin. They're not 2 different sides of anything. It's just which of the demagogues is going to be in office for this. They all want to protect themselves. And this is why, as I said earlier, ufology is a weapon it's to imprison people who want greater truth, who are more interested in the spiritual.
Okay, I have a question. So, are the Polarans planning on or are they here on Earth currently? Are they planning on enlightening us with their presence, or no? So, how is any of that work?
They have given through with Billy's assistance, thousands of pages. It's like, I know kids in school nowadays are, really it's everything is this, but you know what? There are still books that are written that contain great information, free articles up the wazoo. When you start to read this stuff and it starts to make so much sense, well, this is why the government isn't going to help you know that this is the only thing worth.
Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's
not
coming
to save you, and they don't want you knowing about Meier. He's a hoaxer, a Swiss guy, crazy guy. Yeah, that's why everybody's trying to kill him all the time, because he's a hoaxer. But Ross Coulthard, but this one or whatever his name is, and all these people.
How many other people like Billy did the Polarans visit and give messages to?
Well, it started with Enoch or Henoch. Then there was Elijah, Isaiah.
And you're talking about biblical people.
Yes, they were meeting with Pleiadian people. There was Jeremiah, whose predictions are enough to curdle your blood. And these are predictions, not prophecies. And there was Emmanuel. Who's Emmanuel? Well, how about Isaiah 7:14? And his name shall be called Emmanuel, or Matthew 1:23, and his name shall be called Emmanuel. There never walked the earth a human being named Jesus Christ. Now, that's not sacrilege. That's a challenge. Find a biography. One biography written at a time contemporaneously with the existence of this man, supposedly by that name. There was a man. His name was Emmanuel, which they represent as being spelled with a J originally. It's spelled with an I, sometimes or an E. Again, Old Testament, one time, and his name shall be called Emmanuel. New Testament, Matthew, and his name shall be called Emmanuel. But when you read the Talmud, Emmanuel, co-discovered by Billy Meier in 1963 or 4, in a tomb on the outskirts of Jerusalem, the original tomb of the crucifixion, they found the original transcripts. And there was a wonderful man, Professor James Deardorff, and he was a comparative religious scholar, and he went out to debunk that book when he heard about it. Came out right 1990 or so, and he comes out with his own book, Celestial Teaching. The Talmud Emmanuel is the original teaching of this man, and the book of Matthew is based on it, not the other way around. You don't think that's heretical? I mean, wow. But he did it sentence by sentence, and he said, well, this explains things logically. The book of Matthew, you've got all this mystical stuff going on. This is pretty explainable right here.
Yeah.
So when you read about it, I mean, I've got that book. We have it in the bookstore. It's a beauty. Let me see if I can grab it real quickly. Don't go away.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Shirley made a good point too. She said political corruption creates the contrasting in our awakening for what we want to leave behind when we build the new earth. That's so true. I think all this political garbage. Oh, okay.
This massive book. This is the original. Now it's got the English and the German, so people who read German can check if it's accurate. This is the original teaching of the man falsely known, pardon me, as Jesus Christ, someone who never lived. If you can show me a biography, not a religious book. Here, this is the amazing thing. There are emperors, kings, warriors, priestesses, queens, pre-BC. There are more books on them. You can find all sorts of books on great philosophers. Where's the biography of Jesus Christ? It doesn't exist. Why? Because that man didn't exist. It was changed decades later. Suddenly there's this guy and all the stuff's attributed to him. When you read what was happening, you'll recognize so much stuff. You say, well, that makes sense. How come I? This is what they want to keep from you. When Andrea and I had discovered some photographs in a storage locker in Utah, Billy had asked us to go look, 9, 10, 12, whatever they were, photographs. They looked to me like they were photos that had been used in 1976 or so by Billy. Send them in. No, these weren't taken by Billy. What? And we find out, according to this information, and this could be controversial, according to the Playaran, when Billy said, well, we forgot, they said, well, those were taken by Wendell Stevens with the help of Asket. Asket is said to be an extraterrestrial woman who was Billy's second teacher. She's still around, visits him every now and then. And that's her craft in there with the top secret stealth plane.
Oh, you showed me those.
Right?
You showed me those in one of our other talks. Yes.
Now, some people are saying, oh, those were really taken in Florida. Blah, blah. No. We have a webmaster. She's been doing really diligent research on it. According to what the Playaran said to Billy, we published, they took Wendell Stevens some years ahead in time to Area 51, where he hit himself in the ground because they said on this date in June 81, there's going to be a test of a flight of a top secret stealth plane, and we will get you there, Wendell, and you can take photographs. And he did. And according to that information from them, those are photographs of it, and there's no hostility. I sent information to a committee, Democrat-run committee, 3-4 years ago. Hey, send us copies, sent the copies. They censored them. They didn't show them to anybody. So you're never from ufology.
So Area 51 was just a MyLab operation. It was a military operation, basically, right? I mean, was there an alien ship that crashed? No, right?
They probably have some stuff there, and they may have had some of the bodies from crashes. These were androids. These were not extraterrestrials who were piloting.
The Greys. Yeah.
Those were androids, according to this.
I've heard that before.
Right. So really, we can't do anything with the UFO part. I mean, lots of people. I've had 7, 8 sightings. I've been within 20 feet of one of the crafts when I was, where was I? Oh yeah, I was living in Brazil, and this was right outside.
Yeah, you witnessed a craft, right, Michael?
The what?
You witnessed one of the craft.
I've seen 3 sightings of play iron craft and maybe 4 or 5 of, I don't know what, but they were other craft. Great, it's very fascinating, interesting, but at the end of the day, you can't do anything with it. People should stop calling themselves experiencers. We all see stuff in the sky. We don't know what it is. A lot of people are simply seeing secret military craft. What kind of an experience is that?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it is. I'm sure a lot of it is. Um, there's a good. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce Schmaka Laka, whatever. Sorry, your name is funny, but it's too long. Uh, they say political corruption aren't most of them Freemasons. And does he have anything, Billy, to say about the Freemasons and how they're controlling the narrative politically? Does he
No,
mention that at all, Billy?
not specifically that I recall. He has said that there are various religious, sectarian groups, cults, organizations that have different ambitions and, all this stuff. There was a very huge influence from a negative ET group that had been based in Egypt. Remember earlier in the show when Clayton Morrison Redacted was talking about the Great Pyramids? And we have that document, Billy's underneath the Great Pyramid. He's being shown a huge craft under there. He's shown these robotic guards. Also, there was a negative ET group based there, and it was operating an agenda. It was going to create a false second coming, and it had major influence in most of the prominent world religions were being affected by this group until they were removed. But still, most major religious groups have had a lot of influence and information and beliefs that were pushed in from this group, and which all it's just a big mess. So if we learn to think for ourselves, we don't need somebody threatening us with eternal damnation or promising us a harp and a cloud. We think, we live, we die. In between, we learn, hopefully, and we share so that we can live, as Billy says, in love, peace, freedom, and harmony. I wrote this song years ago. It's just popping into my head, and I don't know if I don't remember all the words, but I'll give you what I got. There have been those throughout the ages who have come here to enslave us, offering promises of power without love. And though only love can save us, it is looked for by the bravest inside of us as well as from above. When divided into nations, we fell into desperation, forgetting there has always been enough. Some believed their kind was better, but the truth will stand forever. Each one of us is but a child of love. Child of love, who is your mother? Do you recognize each one you see as part of the same family? Child of love, sister and brother, what will it take for you and me to be loving one another? Well, we're sailing to the threshold where the golden age will unfold, and the stormy seas we sail will be rough. But we're helping one another, one with compass, one with rudder, on a ship of freedom called the Child of Love.
That is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That is really beautiful.
I got a million.
We are living in a matrix of slavery. That's an absolute truth. We're all slaves. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, of course.
We can recognize what it is.
Yeah.
We have to start making choices. And I would suggest there's an awful lot of free information. If people write, if they don't know where to find, where's something, this, that, and the other thing. Well, we have a search engine on the blog. If you don't find it, we also have another website where we've got a lot of the free spiritual teaching articles.
Mm-hmm.
Drop an email, come on, ask, and we'll direct you, because all that stuff's free. Anything
and you're very good about posting on Facebook. I always see your posts on there, and you'll always link articles to, so folks can read them. There's tons of images and videos and everything on your blog. So I highly recommend folks go over there. I always pop in there and read, different things. Like I said, especially about Billy's prophecies. I'm always so mind blown about them. And we recently talked about Italy and what they're going through with volcanoes and earthquakes, and under
It's about
ocean
to start.
earthquakes. And yeah, and Billy predicted that
This
when
was
did,
from 48. And in
yeah.
there, what's so interesting, he was told by his first teacher, Sfath, and he said, and he named the 5 major volcanoes in Italy: Mount Marsili, Mount Stromboli, Etna, Vesuvius, and Campi Flegrei, and
Mhm.
said these are all going to become active later, in the century and next. But he said there will be in 2016 2016 nailed there, powerful earthquakes in central Italy that will be the precursors. These will be the warnings that these volcanoes will become active and will erupt. Parts of Italy will go in the sea at a certain point. So I decided to check. Well, there's a date. So I did. I went online and I found Central Italy, 2016. The most powerful earthquakes on record took place in Central Italy in 2016.
Wow. So
So
he nailed that one. He nailed that one. What
yeah,
does he say about, because I know a lot of tourists left Italy during this whole thing, and
it hasn't happened yet. It's coming. Yeah, but go ahead.
you sent them letters too, didn't you, warning them?
Yeah, I sent, because what I know is generally with this information, you never know with some of these, because they stopped giving dates because they said people, wait till something's going to happen, or they try and change an event. We're telling you these things will happen. And in this case, 48, he says 2016, that's the warning. It could be another 20 years. But these volcanoes have all become active, not just a matter of what happens. We just had this big, the eruption and earthquake, seaquake thing from Russia. There's underwater stuff. Billy was told.
Yeah, Mish just asked if he says anything about the oceans.
Yeah,
Um,
this is true. Yes, about the oceans dying. He wrote about that long ago. He also warned about the destruction of the ocean conveyor belts. He published way before the so-called new discoveries that there were literally ocean-sized bodies of water underground that were bigger than all the oceans on the surface.
wow.
He was told that there were over 100,000 undersea volcanoes, underwater volcanoes that are and will become more active. And then these were discovered just in the past few years, and we can prove the publication. It's crazy stuff. I mean, somewhere in 1990, I think it was, Billy predicted, one of the ETs told him that in 2001, I think is the year, that there would be something called the Mars Odyssey mission. He gives this name. That's when NASA created it and launched it. So these are things that get so specific. We've got over 60 examples of astronomical information verifiably published. Every planet in the solar system, black holes, twin black holes, wandering black holes, before any of it's discovered. What do these people want? Well, Avi Loeb and Lou Elizondo and Ross Coulthard and all the UFO people want you to not know that's there, so they can peddle their garbage and keep people waiting for the evil aliens to attack.
Yeah.
Right?
Did Billy say anything about Yellowstone?
Yeah.
Because that's got me a little spooked.
That is
A lot of activity.
In addition to the 5 Italian volcanoes, in northern Germany is something, a caldera also called the Eiffel Fields. That will go, and northern Europe will turn into a sea of fire. And it can't be helped but that I forget how they put it, the big one in America, the caldera in America is kind of below, and that will be probably the biggest destruction from a natural event in North America.
That could wipe us out. It'll cause a nuclear winter.
Many things could be going down the tubes with that. And we don't know the dates. It's overdue. We know that if and when, let's just say if and when, but when a third world war is starting, we're stupid enough to provoke Russia. And, they just discovered shallow depth lava lake under Campi Flegrei. Well, it's going to go in. And if we here in America push this thing, and Russia and China and North Korea and other countries, and these ETs under Earth come against America, they're going to use weather weapons from the West Coast eastward, fire cylinders, hurricanes, as well as any and everything else. And Russia coming through Alaska and Canada. And that's why that little clip where this professor says, well, Billy Meier, said this about, and Arkhangelsk, 1987, they said Russia's going to move its troops. they're going to attack Scandinavia from Archangels. Why would they ever attack these countries? It's all neutral. No, they joined NATO just within the past few years. It's in that document. It's in published books. No, yeah, well, the next one we might not recognize each other, surely.
Yeah,
But
surely.
we
We
have.
can say hello and goodbye. Yeah, it's kind of scary.
So it's not about, we don't want to titillate or scare people or make people go comatose. Folks, if you're interested in truth, as we said earlier on, real truth is harsh. It isn't the fairy tales from the UFO paranormal community that you can't do anything with. There's no evidence. Great stories. Some things here and there can be real, but where are you going to get the whole picture from somebody who's not trying to prove anything to you and really isn't trying to sell anything? You don't even have to buy Billy's book. Read the free stuff and start getting a clue.
Michael, let me ask you this. These orbs that everybody is seeing now, they're pervasive. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
You have Chris Bledsoe, who's famous for taking videos of these orbs and calling them into the sky, bringing hundreds of people to a beach where they can summon them. What's these orbs? What do you think?
Well, let's put
I'm sure Billy doesn't say anything about the orbs.
I've spoken about orbs before. Some orb phenomena is due to gases under the earth and all of that. He has also said that there's some intelligence to some orbs and that they kind of hang out around life forms like people and animals and things. But what do you do with it? It's like, hey, I'm going to call orbs forward. Look at me. Thank you very much. Great. But
exactly.
What do you do with it? Phenomena. This is just too much focus all around in phenomena. This man, they're living a really grounded existence, dodging people, trying to kill them and suppress them and sue them and everything else. I've got people to threaten me and, try to sue and all that stuff because they want. People think it's some glorious thing. Oh, a UFO contactee. Maybe I'm one too. Well, I had a dream. I was contacted. In my dream. It goes on, and you could. It's just like next. If we don't look at the Chinese culture, look at the Japanese culture. Kids, 4 and 5 years of age, learning gardening, automobile maintenance, not Facebook. I just saw a video. I think it was on X Twitter thing. China with these cities, you wouldn't know. We're taught, poor backward people in China, and they're trying to hurt us. Look, nobody's perfect, and they've got some really bad things that go on in China, clearly, but they're way ahead of us, folks, in many ways. Why do you think that you're trying to stop them?
Jane brought up Israel's connection to everything. What does Billy say? I know he mentions the Middle East and Persia.
Early in his contacts, he was told about Israel. I'm going to say this, and for those who don't like it, Israel is a terrorist state at this time. It doesn't mean that every Israeli is behind this. This is a movement with so-called Zionists. You don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. You don't have to be an Israeli to be a Zionist.
You just have to believe in the state of Israel.
It's this destiny thing. They, in no uncertain terms, Netanyahu, or Netanyahu, if you want to be nice, is a Nazi incarnate. He is trying to exterminate a people, and you don't have anybody in any of these countries who he's welcomed with open arms by our president. This man is a genocidal lunatic, and all of this stuff about the destiny of Israel. Listen, I grew up listening to a lot of stuff from people. My first experience with Israelis, and as I like to say, I have some nice Israeli friends. They're not Zionists, and I went to a kind of an industrial international show in Chicago where I grew up, and it was all these countries had booths at this international fair featuring certain products from their countries. And I remember, I'll never forget, I must have been 17. I walk in, we end up going over to the Israeli booth, and it struck me at that time that I had never met people who were as arrogant, entitled, and domineering and pushy, because everybody in this trade fair, they were trying to invite you and entice you to see. And these people just left this indelible impression. Now, there are people involved in the peace movements in Israel who are shamed and endangered because in that wonderful book, the Talmud of Manuel, and in early texts, we find out what ultimately happens to the state of Israel. And if the Israeli people knew what they were doing, what they
Yeah.
were bringing forward on themselves while they bring forward hell on
Yeah.
others. And listen,
again, it's the
Hamas, I got to say this, wait, Hamas
Yeah.
and Hezbollah, these are not angels. These are terrorists too, but you don't go and exterminate a people so they can't reproduce. And so you can steal their land as you stole the lands, your ancestors, the Israeli ancestors, they explain it in the real history,
Yeah.
stole the lands. And
Yeah.
it's a terrible thing.
I just want to say, you have to separate the people from the politics. It's
Well,
not the
the
Israeli
ones that
people.
are not involved in it, but the other
Yeah.
ones are people.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones that are involved in it, obviously.
What can we do except speak? There's a woman named Caitlin Johnstone who writes
Thanks,
passionately
Ian.
and truthfully about the situation. But all you have to know is look at what's going on. This is a crying shame on humanity. So
Gene said that's the way he sees it too, but he likes the way you explained it.
read
Yeah.
Billy to know how it's really
Yeah.
explained. It's too bad because as Emmanuel said in the Talmud Emmanuel in the real prophecies, when the people see the destruction of Jerusalem, don't turn back to try to get your coats. Flee to the mountains.
Mm.
The
So
Arab
I-
states, China and Russia, will clean
Yeah.
the cost there one day, unfortunately.
Yeah. So I have to ask you, because some people leave comments on our old videos and they want to know why the Polarans don't come down and help us directly. How
Sure.
come they're not showing themselves to us? Why just Billy? I
Because
get that a lot.
yeah, because you need somebody who's got the strength of character and the courage to deliver the message without having 10 people who gets frightened by it or decide to change this or that. Like people, there's this guy in Trinidad who's faking Billy's messing with his material because he's a contact. Listen, the world is full of these people. Billy has brought it down. Billy isn't the creator of a lot of the teaching. He simply gets it down, publishes it the way it's given. And they've helped us. What do you think? Why should other people come and try to clean up a mess that we've made?
Exactly.
This is the busybody idea. Well, we'll go send our missionaries over here and we'll send these people over there.
Yeah.
Leave people
That's
alone,
what
for
they think.
God's sake.
That's what they think, that, they have a responsibility to come and clean up the mess. But I also want to mention this comment to from Schmacka Laka, whatever that is. Sorry, it's terrible to pronounce. He said, I, for my sake, love Israel, but it's okay to disagree. And that's exactly true. You can agree, disagree with either side of the scenario. That's your privilege and your priority. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody, gets politically involved. And that to me is what's wrong with America. We're a two-party system, three-party system, really, but we're essentially a two-party system. And I don't like taking sides and fighting, infighting, all this civil infighting that we're experiencing. But I like that comment because it says a lot. You can take whatever side you like. That's fine. You're free. We have free will, freedom of expression. You're allowed to take whatever side you want. But Michael, thank you so much. You've given us so much of your time today. I love the documentary. I can't wait to watch it. I'm really excited to watch that. You have to make sure you send me the info on how I can grab a copy.
No worries.
And I love the fact that it's got ownership to it. So it's not just a rentable thing. You're going to actually own it, which is
Yes.
brilliant. And I have to say, I give you a lot of credit and courage for being such a dedicated Billy Meier proponent and believer, and spreading the word so that we can maybe do something to change the direction of our demise. I mean, that to me is really what it's all about. Maybe this will wake some people up. so that they can think differently, make better decisions about the future of our nation here and the world. I mean, yes, we were talking about America a lot today, but it's a global. Oh, hi, Eversor. So good to see you, sweetie. But yeah, I mean, um, and this is going to be you guys can go watch it again. It'll be all over social media where you can replay this in case you missed a lot of what Michael was talking about. And of course, you can get some of Billy's books and educate yourself that way. But again, thank you so much, Michael. Anything in closing that you want to share with us about Billy's work or something you're working on in the future? Anything at all?
Well, I would just say this, and I don't mean it as a semantic thing. I don't have to believe Billy. I've actually tested him a number of times to see if he was possibly lying about stuff.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
you get involved with something like this, you're going, wow, is this possible? So I feel it's the most important thing. And that makes it easier in that sense to want to assist, to want to do, to
Yes.
share with people. So if people find it interesting enough to look into it, I hope you'll get the film, but I hope you'll visit the blog and see all the free info, the stuff that, and
Yes.
send an email. It keeps me up at night, but send an email if you need to find something you can't. And that's just, that's the least that I can do for this man who's dedicated the past 83 years since childhood to bringing forward this information for us. And the only other thing I'd say to people, if you're interested in UFOs, paranormal, if you want to do something to find out how honest and good people are, ask them please to comment on or to investigate the Billy Meier material. And I'll go on anybody's show if they want. Carol Ann is one of the few people that is willing to have me on the show. I've been unredacted and others, but no, they don't want this in the UFO world because they got to perpetuate that. Prove
Yeah.
me wrong. See if we can get anybody.
Yeah, that's sad.
Right, Avi Loeb. Ask them about the Billy Meier case. Anyway, enough of that. I thank you for the opportunity, and I want to post this, for my audience too. So I'll get links from
Oh,
you.
absolutely. No, I enjoy having you on, and I will again, Michael. I think it's so important to talk about Billy's work. And I look at it as a warning sign. You can almost think of it as like kind of Nostradamus. I don't know if people believe in the predictions of Nostradamus, but I mean, it's to me, it's like you're getting all this information for free, all these warnings, and yet we're still voting in the same people. We're still doing the same mistakes politically. And even like, look what they're doing to our food, that we have to have it mandated out, the chemicals of our food. The air, the food, all of it, the pharmacia, toxic poisons. It's just awful. And I love Billy's premise of wanting to make, to help save us as humanity, right? I mean,
Save
I think that's
ourselves.
yeah, right. Save yourself, right? Yeah. 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 Well, thank you all so much for joining us in the chat. It was a lot of fun. I hope I didn't miss anybody's questions because I get very involved in listening to Michael, and sometimes I can miss a comment or two. So apologies for that. But Michael, thank you so very much. And again, go to Michael's blog, which is theyflyblog.com, and check out the articles. Everything's on there for free. There's no paywall, none of that stuff. You can just read all about Billy and his prophecies and everything. Michael puts a lot of information, a lot of hard work goes into that blog. So thank you again, Michael. We will be seeing you again in the future for sure.
Okay. I'll be there in the future.
God bless you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you all so much again. You guys are the best. I love having you in the chat. It means the world to me that you guys are interacting and supporting the network. It means the world to me. So that brings us to the end of this conversation with Michael Horn. We've journeyed through some of the most remarkable and controversial territory. We've explored a lot of Billy Meier's prophecies, examined predictions for America's future, and hopefully we can avoid some of the implications, the profound implications, as I said earlier. I want to thank Michael again for his time and sharing, his perspective on this complex topic. And it really is that. And, whether you're a staunch believer or a curious skeptic or somewhere in between, the messages that we discussed today about not only the predictions, but about personal responsibility and the power to change our future and the power to change the food that we eat, the air that we're breathing, all of it. It encompasses all of it. So if this conversation sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to learn more. As I said, definitely check out the website. And so thank you so much, Michael. We greatly appreciate it. You've been listening to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled on United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, which is 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. I think I must say that in my sleep. But each week, listeners will be introduced to featured guests from various television shows, film, radio, many authors, best-selling books, and beyond. Please do support the other hosts on this network and stay tuned. I'm doing a collaboration with Karen Swain. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Shirley would know. I'm sure she's heard. We're posting it all over social media. Once a month, I'm going to be on one of her shows as well as a guest host, I guess you could call it. We're going to talk about a lot of interesting topics. Check out my Facebook page. I post everything there. And my ex. I'm on LinkedIn, Rumble. Please support. It means the world to me when you do. God bless everyone. Love you all dearly. Bye-bye.